On the day of my birthday banquet, the marquee manor was decorated with lanterns and festoons, seemingly joyous and festive, but in reality undercurrents were surging. Mi fiancé, the eldest princess's son, Ho Ming-yuan, actually came to attend the ceremony with his arm around a heavily made-up courtesan. He stood in the center of the hall, his face full of mockery, pointing at the cushion on the ground and forcing me to kneel down and offer tea to that woman. Wei Qing-yun, as long as you offer this cup of tea and acknowledge her status, this young master will be magnanimous enough to marry you. As soon as he finished speaking, the hall full of guests erupted in uproar, and the surroundings instantly fell into a deathly silence. I raised my head in disbelief, looking at him through the swaying beaded curtain. I knew Hu Mingyuan didn't like me, despised my humble origins, thought I wasn't worthy of his status as the young master. But I never imagined he would want to humiliate me like this at my birthday banquet, in front of everyone. I clenched my fists hidden in my sleeves, me nails digging deep into my palms, bringing a piercing pain. At that moment, I wanted nothing more than to tear apart his hypocritical face. But I couldn't. I had no one behind me. Me birth mother died early. Me father was weak. He relied on this marriage arrangement that my late mother exchanged with her life to barely survive under my stepmother. Until now, if I turned against him now, where would I go? Seeing that I didn't move, he seemed a bit impatient and magnanimously shifted his body. Hou Mingyuan playfully folded the fan in his hand, making a gesture as if to knock it on my head. I instinctively dodged away. He missed completely, and immediately became very displeased, his brows tightly furrowed. Wei Qing-yun, what is with the tantrum? Aren't you the most obedient? What has gotten into you today? Wings grown hard, not listening anymore. Scattered mocking laughter pierced into my ears like sharp thorns, carrying a vicious chill. I trembled all over with anger, blood rushing to my head. At this moment, I finally came to my senses. This marriage, I can't accept it. If I really accept this cup of tea, I'll truly become the laughingstock of the entire capital. Anyun can bully me from now on. Where would there be any way to live? At worst, I'll become a nun, spend the rest of my miserable life with green lamps and ancient Buddhas. That is still better than being trampled in the mud, unable to survive. I've thought it through. I stared at him fixedly. Probably my gaze was too resolute and frightening. He felt guilty inside, coughed dryly twice, and urged me to kneel down again. Wei Qing-yun, don't say this young master is treating you harshly. With your status, you shouldn't be this young master's legitimate wife in the first place, if it weren't for mother's promise back then. All right, if you make me happy today, I'll immediately have someone send the betrothal gifts and bring you through the door. He waved his hand, had someone bring over scalding hot tea, and pointed at a chest of gold, silver, and jade objects that people had carried over behind him, as if giving alms to a beggar. Fury gradually rises in my chest, and the fiercer the fire burns, the clearer my calculations become. The court has only been stable for a few years now. The new emperor ascended the throne and is rectifying the bureaucracy. The powerful and noble are all keeping their heads down, afraid of causing any trouble. That Hu Mingyuan dares to come and humiliate me like this today, because he has figured I am weak and can be bullied, that I won't dare make a big scene. The princess has been warm to me on the surface all these years, but actually cold. Whenever Ho Mingyuan belittles me, she always brushes it aside lightly, telling me not to fuss about it with him and to be sensible. Today's matter probably got her approval too, otherwise that good for nothing. Ho Mingyuan wouldn't have prepared that chest of seemingly valuable jewelry. A slap followed by a sweet date. He doesn't have the brains for that. This is the princess's handiwork. She's got it all figured out if I agree. I am humiliating myself if I refuse. I am defying orders. Since that is the case, I can't let her fulfill her wish so easily. Those with nothing to lose fear. Nothing, since I have no way out. Then no one should expect to have it easy. Under everyone's horrified gazes, I suddenly raised my hand, using all my strength, and swiftly slapped Ho Mingyuan hard across his arrogant face. Slap! The crisp sound of the slap was especially loud in the silent hall. He staggered back 2 steps from the blow, covering his face, unable to contain his fury, his eyes full of shock. Wei Qing-yun, you dare! Before he could react, I lifted my skirt and, like a startled fawn, quickly ran out the manor gate. I ran frantically all the way, running to the most bustling area on the street, collapsed to the ground, not caring about my appearance, and wailed loudly. The servants from the Marquis Manor who were originally chasing me, seeing this place crowded with people, were scared and stopped in their tracks, not daring to come forward. Fortunately, my stepmother, in order to let my stepsister climb up to the powerful and noble, spent a fortune to buy a small residence on this street, making it convenient to use as a stepping stone to befriend nobles, which made it convenient for me to run out now and reach this place where the powerful and noble gather without much effort. Not only do imperial relatives live on this street, even those several censor lords famous for speaking frankly and daring to remonstrate live nearby. Me crying was shrill and miserable, instantly drawing a crowd of onlookers. The common people formed a circle, pointing and gossiping about the Marquis Manor, which actually blocked those servants from getting in. With dishevelled hair, I cried out with the loudest voice I could muster, "Mother, after you passed away, your daughter has had such a hard time. If it weren't for the marriage arrangement you made back then with the eldest princess, using your life-saving grace, arranging my engagement with the heir, we would have been sent by my stepmother to a countryside estate to be tormented to death. But I never expected. If he doesn't want to marry me, just break off the engagement. Why humiliate me like this and force me into a dead end? He actually forced me to bow and scrape and serve tea to a mistress before he'd agree to marry me. I'd rather not have this marriage than suffer such great humiliation, mother. If your spirit in heaven sees this, how heartbroken you must be for your daughter." Father's official position is lowly. Stepmother is a concubine's daughter from a wealthy family. Although I have an engagement with Ho Ming Yuan, the youngest son of the princess, he looks down on me, and the princess doesn't value me much either. Father and stepmother care about face. Didn't dare not throw me a birthday banquet. But my birthday banquet didn't have any real nobles attending, mostly just social climbers. That is why Ho Ming Yuan dared to make such a scene at my home to humiliate me who would dare offend him. But now it is different. I ran to the street and tore off the fig leaf viciously. All around are families of the powerful and common folk watching the excitement. They can't afford to lose this face. If I am going to make a scene, make it big. Otherwise, I am afraid after going back, stepmother will use the excuse that family shame shouldn't be aired publicly and quietly let me die of illness. I want to make each of them protect my life for the sake of their own reputation. You wicked daughter. What nonsense are you spouting? Me father chased out, panting, anxiously running in circles, forehead covered in cold sweat, wishing he could come up and cover my mouth. Stepmother on the side was also dumbfounded, face deathly pale. She didn't expect that I, usually so meek and submissive, would dare to stir up such huge trouble today. I continued crying loudly, clutching my chest, sobbing, "Mother, if I knew I'd suffer today's humiliation, I might as well have followed their wishes and gone with you. Better than being trampled on in this world." Perhaps it was truly too grievous. Various hardships from over the years surfaced in my mind. I couldn't stop crying. Tears soaked my clothes. Some soft-hearted women around also had moist eyes, walked to my side to console me. "Good child, you've suffered. Quickly get up." In broad daylight. "Is there no law anymore? We're all here. We absolutely won't let you be humiliated in public, rest assured." Through blurry, tearful eyes, I saw the person wore silk and satin different from common people, with a dignified bearing. Moreover, someone who dared to console me after hearing the Grand Princess's name would definitely not be an ordinary noble. I sobbed and slowly raised my head, revealing a pair of red and swollen eyes. "Thank you, madam." They compassionately helped me up, had someone bring a chair for me to sit, gently tidied my dishevelled hair. Some people had already sent servants to inquire about the truth of the situation. I held back tears forcefully, voice hoarse, "Thank you, ladies. Though my status is humble, I don't want to suffer this great humiliation. Today's matter, I'd like to ask you all to bear witness for me. I know after today, having offended the Grand Princess, There is probably no way to survive. I gracefully stood up, bowed deeply to everyone. I, Wei Qingyun, would like to trouble you all to accompany me to the Grand Princess's residence to break off the engagement. Even if Qingyun dies, I cannot fail my late mother's teachings, cannot lose the Wei family's integrity. That noble lady who cherished me most wiped her tears and said without hesitation, "Good child, you've got spirit. I'll go with you." But just as she stood up, a shrill cry rang out. "Make way quickly, Her Highness, the eldest princess is here." The crowd automatically parted, and the eldest princess walked briskly forward with her well-maintained face stiff. Beside her was Ho Mingyuan with an ashen face and a handprint still on his cheek. "Qingyun, you are being foolish." The eldest princess took my hand with fake concern, but her eyes were full of warning. "Child, what nonsense are you talking? Today is your birthday banquet. Who would bully you? I had Mingyuan send over a gift early on. If it weren't for urgent palace matters, I wouldn't have arrived so late. Just got here and heard about this. Qingyun, you are really confused. How can you believe rumors?" She turned to address everyone, her tone dignified and gracious. "Everyone, please disperse. This child probably had another spat with Mingyuan and is throwing a tantrum on purpose. Young ladies have many worries on their minds. A bit of temper is quite normal. With me here, no one will bully her." Everyone hesitated a bit. After all, she was the eldest princess, and face had to be given. I sneered inwardly, but tears kept falling on my face, making me look even more pitiful. I suddenly pulled my hand away, as if greatly frightened, staggered and knelt down, using my loudest voice to say, "I beg you, Your Highness the Princess, please allow me to break off my engagement with His Highness. The Crown Prince, Qingyun, is of lowly status and truly unworthy of His Highness the Crown Prince. I dare not compete for favor with his mistress." The princess's face twisted for a moment. She froze, then forced a smile and hurried over to help me up. Qingyun stopped making a scene. I shuffled back 2 more steps, avoiding her like she was a snake or scorpion. Her hands fell empty. She was somewhat annoyed, but had to keep up her virtuous act, thinking of calling me petty and presumptuous to brush this off. No way, since I've decided to make this big. There is no way I came unprepared. I kowtowed hard. The sound of my forehead striking the ground drew gasps from those around, my forehead throbbing with pain as blood began to seep out. "Your Highness, I know that over the years you've taken care of me out of gratitude for my late mother's life-saving grace. So all these years, when the Crown Prince didn't like me and constantly humiliated me in public, I never complained about anything. Out of gratitude, I listened to you and just treated it as the Crown Prince venting his bad mood. But today, the Crown Prince actually brought his mistress to wreck my birthday banquet and forced me to kneel and serve her tea. If I endure this any longer, I'd be trampling on my late mother's dignity. It is a fact that the Crown Prince made me serve tea to his mistress. So many people witnessed it. Besides, why would I risk such grave impropriety, staking my own reputation and life to frame the Crown Prince? I swear on my late mother's name, if there is a single lie in what I say today, may I die a terrible death. I make this vow to prove I speak nothing but the truth. The entire hall was stunned, silent as death. The eldest princess's face turned from blue to purple, purple to blue, a spectacular display. She thought no one would dare speak up, and by having the scene cleaned up in time, she could cover up the truth. She wants to ruin my reputation to smooth this over, wants to force me to back down, dream on. With those words, I resolutely pulled out the silver hairpin holding my hair, but instead of stabbing myself, I grabbed that head of black hair and slashed hard. Our bodies and hair are gifts from our parents today. Qingyun severs her hair to sever all ties. This is my declaration. Black hair fell to the ground. Ivrione cried out in shock. That noble lady pushed aside the eldest princess, held me tightly in her arms, her voice trembling. "Good child, don't do anything foolish. For someone like this, it is not worth it." She helped me up, looked coldly at the eldest princess, her presence commanding. The heir truly has excellent upbringing. So many eyes saw it. Yet you still say it is a young lady throwing a tantrum. I suspected something was wrong. So I specifically had someone go in and look. That mistress was frantically fleeing through the back door and was detained by my people. I'll have them bring her over right now, so everyone can see just how outrageous the heir is, daring to act this way at his fiancé's birthday banquet. Seeing this, the eldest princess forcibly suppressed her rage and pulled out a smile uglier than crying. Prime Minister's wife, you've misunderstood. There must be some misunderstanding here. Prime Minister's wife, no wonder she dares to be so bold and confront the eldest princess. I actually managed to get a big shot to help me. I was secretly delighted inside. I bet right, but on the surface I cried even harder, clinging tightly to her like grasping a lifeline. Whoa, the Prime Minister's wife makes her entrance. This is like Harry Potter meeting Dumbledore. Finally someone's got her back. Wei Qingyun knows she can't fight the eldest princess alone, so she needs to borrow power. She bet right. The Prime Minister's family are upright officials who definitely look down on the eldest princess's arrogant and domineering ways. And notice the eldest princess's attitude. This is typical gaslighting. You are talking nonsense. You are just throwing a tantrum. Who is bullying you? She is trying to deny the victim's memory and feelings. Fortunately, our female lead has a clear head and directly broke through her lies. This move was so risky, but also so effective. The eldest princess has restrained herself quite a bit since the new emperor took the throne. Although she is still imperial family now, Hu Mingyuan is useless, just a wastrel who only knows how to eat, drink and play around, and the prince consort has had his power stripped. Over these years, she has gradually become dissatisfied with me, especially these past 2 years. She wants a noble lady from a prestigious family to marry her son to consolidate her position. Unlike the past, she can no longer rely entirely on imperial favor to act recklessly. Back then, Mother saved her life when she fell into the water. Her gratitude was genuine, and so was her impulsive decision to arrange a marriage between me and Hu Mingyuan. But now the new emperor has some criticisms of her, and there is quite a bit of criticism about her in the court. She doesn't dare to be as flamboyant as before. She looks down even more on me, the daughter-in-law she personally chose, who offers no help whatsoever. She has long wanted to find an excuse to call off the engagement, but she is held back by concerns about her reputation. I've also heard Hu Mingyuan discussing with his friends, saying that the Prime Minister is most upright and incorruptible, disapproves of the princess's behavior, and always impeaches her in court. Perhaps Mother has a spirit in the 9 heavens above, and actually brought me such a great ally. Seeing the princess pretentiously sending someone to explain the whole story, the Prime Minister's wife snorted coldly with a contemptuous look. If I hadn't happened to pass by here today, I wouldn't have known that your Highness's household discipline has reached such a level truly admirable. Indulging your son in favouring a concubine over his wife, and even forcing the legitimate wife to kneel before a mistress, is this the royal family's propriety? The princess's expression changed after being provoked by the Prime Minister's wife's few words. She put away her smile, her eyes vicious. Prime Minister's wife, don't push your luck. No matter what. This is my family matter. You are overstepping. She looked at me in the Prime Minister's wife's arms. Her tone sinister. Qingyun, it is all that wretched woman's fault. Mingyuan was just momentarily bewitched by her and made a mistake. It is not a big deal. Don't make such a fuss about it. All these years I've loved you like my own daughter. Are you really going to ruin the bond between our two families over this little matter? She is threatening me. I shrank back, completely hiding in the Prime Minister's wife's embrace, me body trembling slightly, lowering my head and refusing to look at her. Qingyun asks for nothing, only that your Highness grants Qingyun's request to break off the engagement. This blessing is more than Qingyun can bear. The princess was so angry her voice trembled, her finger pointing at me shaking. Good. Very good, if you. But at this moment, that fool Hu Mingyuan interrupted the princess, calling out loudly with a face full of disdain. Mother, if she wants to break it off, let her. Does she really think she is some hot commodity? Wei Qingyun, don't you regret this? Without this young master, let's see who else would dare marry you. I carefully lifted my eyes slightly, filled with fear and determination. I saw Hu Mingyuan glaring at me fiercely, his eyes vicious. He spoke word by word through gritted teeth. Mother, break it off then. Not only will I break it off, I'll also take that woman as a concubine today." Seeing this, the Prime Minister's wife was so angry she laughed instead. The princess finally completely lost her composure, wishing she could slap this foolish son twice on the spot. "Ridiculous, shut your mouth. She warned me one last time," her gaze sharp as a knife. "Qingyun, do you really want to break off this engagement? Think it through what happens to women who break off their engagements." I answered loudly, my voice firm. "I'd rather die than regret it." The Princess Royal let out a cold laugh, her rage consuming her. Very well indeed, guards. Drag that woman who seduced the heir over here. Let Miss Wei see how I clean house. She wanted to make an example, wanted me to see clearly. This is what happens when you don't obey. Too bad her plan fell through, so many nobles were here watching the show. And the Prime Minister's wife, who disapproved and dared to offend her, was present. I wouldn't die, and that woman's life wouldn't be left to her whims either. Sure enough, the Prime Minister's wife spoke up, her voice authoritative. "Your Highness the Princess Royal, this woman's fate is hardly yours to decide privately. She is a witness if she is gone. Wouldn't that leave no one to testify? Are you trying to cover up the truth, Your Highness? Is this really necessary?" The Princess Royal shrieked. "Of course. Does Your Highness want to abuse your power with vigilante justice in the streets?" Very well. She turned and viciously slapped Hu Mingyuan across the face, hard enough to make his mouth bleed, then left in fury without looking back. Hu Mingyuan staggered back 2 steps, glared at me with venomous hatred, but could only follow behind the Princess Royal and slink away. The Prime Minister's wife gently patted my back and softly comforted me. "Good child, don't be afraid. Go home and wait." She looked at father and stepmother with an ambiguous smile, her tone admonishing. "This child has backbone, and is also a pitiful person, Lord Wei. Take good care of her. Don't let anyone break her heart." Father and stepmother exchanged glances, responding submissively, their clothes soaked with cold sweat on their backs. I bowed deeply to her and thanked her sincerely. I knew she wasn't purely helping me, perhaps it was to deal with the eldest princess. But without her, I absolutely couldn't have escaped unscathed today. She wasn't as warm as before, just smiled and gently touched my injured forehead. "Good child, rest well at home and heal your wounds. We'll meet again in a few days." At the time I didn't take her words to heart, but later facts proved she was the greatest benefactor in my life. I thanked the people around who spoke up and respectfully saw them off. Father and stepmother smiled, like lapdogs seeing off the guests, but as soon as everyone left and the servants just closed the door, stepmother immediately changed her expression and viciously slapped me. Slap. I no longer begged for mercy and tried to please them like before, just slowly touched my burning face and smiled at them, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Father, mother, have you thought it through? Do you want me to make a scene in front of those nobles again, if my face gets new injuries?" When the Prime Minister's wife asks about it, I wouldn't dare hide it. Father scolded me, his fingers trembling. "You wretched daughter, what nonsense were you spouting outside today? You even dared to offend the eldest princess. You even dared to swear on the whole family. You good-for-nothing troublemaker. Are you trying to get our entire family killed?" I stared at them with a wild laugh, me eyes full of madness. "Father, no matter what, you'd better treat me well. In a few days the Prime Minister's wife is going to see me. Didn't you hear? If something happens to me by then, do you think the Prime Minister's wife won't make a big deal out of it?" Seeing this, stepmother tugged at father's sleeve, her eyes flickering. I ignored them, turned around and went back to my room, and had a nice comfortable sleep. The next evening, the nanny beside the eldest princess came with a dark face, bringing the annulment document, and tore up the previous marriage contract right in front of me. "Since the engagement is annulled, please have the Wei family return all the betrothal gifts. Not a single item from our marquee manor can be missing." I looked at stepmother, whose face had turned pale. "Mother, those betrothal gifts were kept by you. Are they still there?" How could she find the complete betrothal gifts to return? Some of the valuable ones had long been pawned by her to fill the holes in her maiden family's finances. Who told her to say in front of so many people back then that I was too young to keep them safe, and that she'd keep them for me? Now let's see how she scrapes these things together. Father rubbed his hands together, smiling ingratiatingly. Qingyun is immature. This engagement cannot be broken. If the princess is dissatisfied with Qingyun, Mi family has another daughter who is much more beautiful and sensible than Qingyun. You see that Nanny glanced at father with contemptuous side eyes, as if looking at something filthy. The heir isn't for just any Tom, Dick, or Harry. Our princess said the Wei family's household conduct is something our marquis manor cannot aspire to. The nanny also handed me a letter, her gaze contemptuous. Miss Wei, this is from the heir for you. If you regret it, go kneel at the princess's manor for 3 days and nights. The heir is soft-hearted. Perhaps he might still grant you the position of a concubine. Stepmother's face turned even paler, now with a hint of flush, ashamed and furious to death. But they didn't even dare provoke the nanny, just sent her off with apologetic smiles, then turned around wanting to hit me. I was prepared. Dodging to the side, stepmother's strike missed. So angry her eyes were practically shooting fire. You dare dodge. The Prime Minister's wife has said to take good care of me. If I am injured or disabled, you won't be able to explain it. I also don't mind going to the streets again to spread the word about how a stepmother mistreats her stepdaughter. If little sister can't find a good family because of having a vicious mother, and little brother gets ostracized at the academy, I won't be responsible. If mother wants to vent on me, better think of a way to make up for the betrothal gifts. The people from the Marquis Manor are not easy to deal with. She could do nothing about me, trembling with anger, raising her hand, then putting it down, finally could only spit viciously. Me stepsister snatched the letter from my hand, quickly tore it open. Her originally gloomy face gradually relaxed, even laughed out loud. She read aloud, Wei Qingyun, you'd better not regret this. If you regret it, crawl over on your knees and beg me. I might still let you be a concubine. This is your last chance, sister. Weren't you so proud? How long can the Prime Minister's wife protect you? Won't you still have to obediently please us? Please the young master. But now the young master doesn't even want to make you a concubine. Let's see when you beg for mercy. She shoved the letter into my hand. I glanced at it indifferently, then tore it to shreds, scattering it on her like burning paper money. What a pity. Little sister, the young master, won't even let you be a concubine. You don't even have the qualification to have your engagement broken off. After mocking her, I turned and left, leaving her shrieking furiously behind me. Stepmother comforted her. Don't worry, she won't be arrogant for long. Once things blow over, I have plenty of ways to deal with her. Me steps didn't stop, but my heart felt a bit panicked. Stepmother was right. I could rely on the Prime Minister's wife's momentary pity for a few days. But after a while they inevitably wouldn't fall for this trick. They could also slowly wait for things to settle down, then create some accidents to make me die of illness. I must find a new backer who can hold firm. The Prime Minister's family is beyond my reach, and I am not qualified to enter the palace either. Especially someone like me who broke off an engagement, even if it sounds better to say I was forced to break it off. My reputation is still tarnished. Women aren't like men. Once there is any issue with reputation, it becomes impossible to move forward. I need to find someone with a status higher than father's, where I can be the legitimate wife. Things like conduct, family reputation, appearance don't matter as long as the person respects me and is willing to support me. But such a man is hard to find. With my status, I'd either have to become a second wife to an older man, or marry a widower who has had wives die on him. But now I've offended the eldest princess. Even though the Prime Minister's wife is backing me, Anyong with eyes can see it won't last long. Who would dare marry a hot potato like me? I need to plan carefully and hold on here as long as I can. The Prime Minister's wife's words suddenly flashed through my mind. See you in a few days. Why did she specifically say that? What day is it in a few days? I couldn't help but blurt it out as I was thinking. My personal maid Xiaohua answered my question. Miss, in a few days is the flower festival. My eyes lit up. The flower festival. No wonder the Prime Minister's wife said that. Every year the Prime Minister's wife holds 100 flowers banquet, which has brought together many good matches, even praised by the Emperor. However, in previous years, A minor official's daughter like me wouldn't have been qualified to be invited. It seems this year the Prime Minister's wife is going to invite me, but if I am invited, I can't possibly be the only one. I was being narrow-minded. I didn't expect the Prime Minister's wife would actually be willing to give me this opportunity. Thinking back to how she looked at me with pity that didn't seem fake, I was somewhat moved no matter what. Anyon, who thinks of a way out for me, is my great benefactor. I must seize this opportunity well. Sure enough, the Prime Minister's wife really did send over a banquet invitation, requiring all the women of the Wei household to attend. After receiving the invitation, my stepmother was overjoyed and took my stepsister out on a crazy shopping spree, wanting to use this chance to help my stepsister climb up the social ladder. Before leaving, I kindly reminded her about returning the betrothal gifts. She actually laughed out loud, then turned to mock me coldly. You should worry about how to deal with offending the Princess Royal first. The heir was stripped of his position because of you. And in a fit of anger, he left the capital. He specifically sent word that if you are willing to be a concubine, the betrothal gifts don't need to be returned, and he can forgive what you've done. I hadn't gotten around to telling you yet, but you brought it up yourself. You just clean yourself up nicely, and tonight a small sedan chair will come for you, without anyone knowing. I smiled and looked toward the door, and seeing this, she had people shut the main gate tight. Mother, have you forgotten that the Prime Minister's wife asked you to bring all the women of the household to the banquet? Whose favor do you think this is for? Do you dare tie me up, force me, and stuff me into the Princess Royal's manor? How will you explain it to the Prime Minister's wife? Say, I suddenly died. Our friend changed slightly. What are you so proud of? After the banquet, you'll still end up in my hands. Do you really think a woman like you who broke off an engagement can have any good ending? So what if you don't want to go to the princess's manor? I've also found a good marriage for you, Yu Fu, a wealthy merchant in the north of the city who is over 40 and lost his wife, happens to need a new wife. It'll even leave plenty of surplus to cover the deficit from the betrothal gifts. These are all good backup plans. I, your mother, have picked for you. Don't say I don't care about you. You are 23 this year after all. She laughed loudly and left the room. My face showed nothing, but my palms were covered in cold sweat. If it really comes to that, I absolutely won't let her have her way. At worst, we'll die together. No one gets to live. On the day of the banquet, I deliberately piled all my valuable jewelry on myself, dressing gaudily and tastelessly. Me stepmother saw this with faint contempt but said nothing, as it perfectly set off her daughter's elegance. Behind my stepmother's back, I deliberately paraded in front of my stepsister, flaunting my beauty. She was so angry she paced in circles. So when she requested to ride in the same carriage as me, my stepmother didn't say much, thinking we were going to have a sisterly bonding moment. But as soon as we got in the carriage, my stepsister slapped me hard. I didn't dodge, taking it head on. After today you are dead. How dare you dress so flashily? Chun-Xing stripped the jewelry off her. These are all mine. I struggled violently, but she hit me again. Fool, I thought to myself. She stripped me down to just my undergarments, my hair disheveled, and took Chun-Xing to change carriages. I picked up the bronze mirror I carried with me, dampened a handkerchief, and wiped off the makeup on my face. My skin is fair and tender, one cheek alarmingly red, looking shockingly alarming. When Xiaohua got in the carriage and saw this scene, she couldn't hold back her tears. I comforted her, had her take out the plain clothes I'd prepared earlier, and carefully covered the redness and swelling, which was still faintly visible, making me look even more pitifully delicate. Miss, why are you doing this? I closed the bronze mirror, me gaze profound. You'll know soon enough. As soon as I got off the carriage, me stepmother saw my appearance, and her face instantly turned pale. But it was too late. I hurriedly announced my family name. Me stepmother had no choice but to bite the bullet and hand over the invitation. I entered with my head lowered, asked for the Prime Minister's wife's location, and headed straight there. As soon as the Prime Minister's wife saw me, she beckoned me over. I bowed respectfully, and she suddenly noticed my cheek. What is this? I quickly lowered my head to cover it. only making it more obvious. She called over a servant, and after learning what happened, looked at me somewhat helplessly. Why is there always trouble whenever we meet? I knew she could tell I did it on purpose, and also knew that my situation was truly difficult. I bit my lower lip somewhat awkwardly. Madam, you jest. I hope you can understand I deliberately showed my wounds on purpose. I just wanted to intimidate my stepmother so she wouldn't dare go too far with me. These noble ladies have seen everything. If I play little tricks, she'll see through them. Better to be honest, might even get unexpected gains. Seeing this, the Prime Minister's wife had me sit beside her and pointed at a group of noble ladies gathered together admiring flowers. See that one in blue? That is Lady Wei He. Son Wei Lin is a few years older than you. After his wife died, he divorced his deceased wife and hasn't remarried in several years. He is a good choice. He is a close minister to the emperor and an upright person. I was truly surprised the Prime Minister's wife had actually thought everything through for me. But I've heard of this Wei Lin too. He really is an ideal candidate. But with my status, I am afraid I can't reach that high. Madam, I'll never forget your kindness. Qingyun dares to ask, why are you willing to help me? She skimmed off the tea foam, her tone indifferent. You are quite clever. I am helping you not just because I pity you, but also for selfish reasons. That Wei Lin is a close minister to the emperor. Besides wanting to build connections, I want the eldest princess's life even more. That Wei Lin is protective of his own. If you really anger him, he absolutely won't let it go easily. I hate that woman. I wish her whole family would be condemned and meet a bad end. I'll protect your life and give you a good marriage, but you must help me, no matter how long it takes. I can wait. She put down the teacup and looked at me sharply. Do I have a better choice? Qingyun understands. How can I get Madame Wei to notice me? I saw my stepmother smiling attentively beside the noble ladies, then looked at my stepsister not far away. I deliberately walked back to my stepsister's side to provoke her. She is brainless, got provoked by just a few words, and casually grabbed a potted plant to throw at me. I dodged skillfully, and the broken pot fell at my feet. The commotion was loud, and many people came over here. I pretended to be weak and innocent. With teary eyes, sister. What did I do wrong again? If you want this hairpin, just take it. She was so angry she stamped her feet. You still dare to say that? She grabbed flower pots and threw them at me again. 1, 2, 3. She was throwing them frantically, and Madame Wei was walking nearby. Heaven is helping me. I hurriedly pushed aside a noble lady and leaned toward Madame Wei, using my body to block the incoming flower pot. Bang. The flower pot hit my shoulder and back, and intense pain came, amid my stepmother's shrill and furious voice. I fell into a woman's arms. Where did this lunatic come from? Quick! Someone come quickly! My stepmother fiercely slapped my stepsister, and only then did she finally realize what she had done. This wasn't at home, and my stepmother's idea of finding a good family for my stepsister was probably going to be blown away. Qingyun's move is straight up high risk, high reward. She deliberately dressed all flashy to piss off her stepsister, then blocked the flower pot for Lady Wei at the crucial moment. This is what you call creating opportunities. Opportunities never come to those who wait. You gotta seize them. She knew she needed a new backer, and Lady Wei was that opportunity in this survival game. As long as you can stay alive, that is wisdom. I woke up in a guest room at the Prime Minister's residence. Lady Wei sat beside me, her eyes full of pity. Thanks to you pushing me away in time, child. Is there anything I can do to repay you? I didn't take advantage of the favor, but instead came clean about my situation and little schemes, crying my eyes out. Lady, Qingyun doesn't want to deceive anyone. I saved you because I deliberately provoked my sister. I just wanted to scare my stepmother, to make her drop the idea. I really had no way out. Lady Wei not only didn't blame me, but felt even more sorry for what I'd been through. She sent me back home and gave me a jade pendant, promising I could seek her out if I had urgent matters. Over the next few days, I used sending thank you gifts as an excuse to frequently meet with Lady Wei, acting obedient, sensible, and endearing. To make up for the betrothal gift shortfall, my stepmother actually wanted to scheme with my cousin to ruin my reputation and force me to marry my cousin or become a concubine. I discovered the conspiracy in advance and used the jade pendant to seek Lady Way's help at the critical moment. On that morning when my stepmother brought people to catch me in adultery, Lady Way descended like a deity, publicly exposed my stepmother's malice, and proposed marriage to me on the spot. Lord Wei, you should give up on that idea. What I want has always been Qingyun alone. Qingyun, would you be willing to become my daughter-in-law? With reddened eyes. I nodded. On my wedding day, my stepmother and stepsister still wouldn't give up. They wanted to drug me unconscious and have my stepsister marry in my place to climb up to the Wei family. Sister, I should be the one becoming Lady Wei. My stepsister laughed maniacally. Unfortunately for them, they didn't know I had prepared in advance too. I had already turned my stepsister's maid Chunxing to my side and joined forces with my cousin, who had been deceived by my stepmother. Fool, I should be the one becoming Lady Wei. Just as my stepsister was getting carried away, my cousin grabbed her from behind, and Chunxing pressed the drugged handkerchief from her hand onto her face. Her eyes widened, and she passed out. My cousin picked her up and walked toward the bridal chamber that had been prepared in advance. Chunxing draped the cloud collar over me and helped me out the door. If I were you, the rice is already cooked. You two have gone through the marriage contract anyway, so it is ultimately reasonable and proper. On our wedding night, Wei Lin was gentle and considerate, telling me he didn't mind my past. Qingyun, from now on, this is your home. A year later, Ho Mingyuan returned to the capital, learning that I had married Wei Lin and was living happily. He came to make a scene like a madman. Wei Qingyun, you are mine. He threatened with death. The princess even used Wei Lin's future as a threat, demanding Wei Lin to divorce his wife. Wei Lin looked at those letters full of humiliation that Ho Mingyuan wrote to me. A coldness never seen before flashed in his eyes. They will pay the price. Not long after, the princess's faction was demoted to commoners for suspected treason and exiled to the frontier. I heard that Ho Mingyuan, during the exile, ended up destitute and wretched, regretting for life. The princess couldn't bear the blow and passed away as well, and I, under Wei Lin's protection, had both sons and daughters, living peacefully through the years. Another year at the 100 Flowers banquet, I sat in the back garden chatting with the Prime Minister's wife. You are really like your mother. Both have that tenacity. I paused, put down my teacup, looked at the children playing in the distance, and smiled slightly. Yes, a loving mother thinks of her child and plans everything for them. And I finally secured a lifetime of peace for myself. After reading this story, I want to share with everyone an English proverb I really like. God helps those who help themselves. First, about fighting back from a desperate situation. If Wei Qingyun hadn't fought back at the birthday banquet, her life might have truly been ruined. That desperate slap of hers shattered not just the scumbag's face, but also the old rules that oppressed her. This tells us that when life backs you into a corner, don't wait for a knight to save you, you are that knight. Your courage is your sharpest weapon. What moved me most in the story wasn't the male lead Wei Lin's appearance, but the help from the Prime Minister's wife and Lady Wei. Although there was an exchange of interests between them, it was more about empathy between women. Wei Qingyun succeeded because she knew how to find allies and how to use the principle that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It is the same in modern life. Learning to build alliances is a very important skill. Finally, about scheming and kindness. Many people might think Wei Qingyun is very scheming, plotting against her stepsister and using Lady Wei, but in my view, this is called agency. She didn't actively harm anyone, she was just doing everything she could to protect herself in that dog-eat-dog environment. True kindness isn't being weak and easily bullied, but choosing to treat the world gently even after you've grown fangs to protect yourself. May we all be like Wei Qingyun, refusing to accept fate when facing adversity, daring to speak up when encountering injustice. No matter what cards you are dealt, play them beautifully. Alright, that is it for today's Elena Storytime. Don't forget to give yourself some applause, because you are also working hard for your own life.